Today's music. Yesterday's hits. Magic. 103.7. 91.5.
Coming up in SVG-TV News and Sports this evening at 7. Government announces emergency relief measures to ease cost of living for citizens. Guyana, Barbados creating new investment fund as travel becomes easier with digital ID card. NASA unveils a 3-phase plan to build permanent moon base by 2032. And in sports, tickets now on sale for historic SVG CPL fixtures. These and other stories coming up in SVG-TV News and Sports this evening at 7.
My name is Professor Kamal T. Adeleke. I am originally from Nigeria, but educated in the United States, where I've been living for about 50 years. And here you are watching the Caribbean Medical Television.
In every territory, in every nation, people are gathering to lead missions and foundations aiding the Global Sustainability Initiative. The United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was a calling and an awakening built upon decades of work by countries to ensure a blueprint for peace and prosperity for all. This call is being answered by many individual and humanitarian groups. To help our community, we must look outward, expand the borders, and lean into improvements made through innovation and relief work. Today, we feature one of those stories right here in the Caribbean with a recent medical mission to Trinidad and Tobago by Hands International.
So the Hands International involvement actually dated back to when they had the earthquake in Haiti. So I think it was just shortly before then that the Hands International was formed. So that was the first international trip that we made, because we were there within 4 days. And we were in Haiti for 2 weeks. We were not as sophisticated as we are now, but we did a lot of things. We created the tents, the mobile hospital. We were able to do surgeries. We were able to do a lot of things under the correct condition, but we did what we needed to do. The Hands International now is a very comprehensive program. It's pretty much taking a hospital within the United States and put it anywhere. I call it hospital anywhere. Why? Because practically all the services, with some limitation, can be provided. Think about it. We do all the clinical evaluation for both pediatrics and adults. We have all the expertise in different specialty, from just general evaluation to dental to ophthalmology to my specialty, which is the heart. It's called 16 minutes golden rule, that what is going to kill you will kill you within 60 minutes. And guess what? The number one killer is a heart disease. Fast food, the food that really doesn't make sense. Organic food are disappearing. Nobody wants to really take time to cook. Everybody wants to go there just to buy the fast food and then eat. Those are all the things that is really going. And then we are putting so much stress on ourselves and we are not exercising. Exercising helps. Whether, just brisk exercise or even vigorous exercise. I don't advocate vigorous exercise, just ordinary brisk walking. I mean, the study shows that if you are able to walk a mile a day, 3 days a week, you will increase your quality life expectancy by almost about 3 years. And if you do it 5 days a week, you may be able to increase your quality life expectancy by 4.8 years. Just exercise. It will lower your blood pressure, it will lower your cholesterol, it will lower your sugar, and also it's going to increase and improve your mentation. So exercise is anti-aging. But everybody now, they want to drive from their bedroom to the bathroom. I mean, come on. What I always say is this: the end of life is when the heart stops. The brain may be working, the eyes may be working, the kidneys may still be working, the lungs may be working, but once the heart stops, that is the end of life. And the heart is the engine of the automobile. And if you look at it, it is #1 killer. You know, my dad died a month shy 105. My grandmother died at the age of 108. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, had 2 children, my aunt and my mom. My aunt just died last year at the age of 101. But they all grew up in Africa. They don't have cars. They walk, they do everything, right? They eat organic food. So they have not been like me, who have been to America and eat a hamburger, hot dog. So I need to work harder, so that I can live longer. And that's why me, myself, I walk at least 5-10 miles every day, to keep in shape.
Joining us on today's episode is the founder of Hands International, Dr. Reynold Agard, who is a son of the region. His vocation for this medical mission hits even closer to home through faith and family.
So to tell how that started, my passion, I was born in Tobago, and really I was passionate about becoming a medical missionary. Sometimes I look back on my history and wondering if I really knew what it was about. But when we go to church, we would see mission stories from Africa. So that's something that was just born in my mind. I was just passionate about helping people. So as a result of that, my goal was to become a physician. God blessed me that I was able to go to school, to college, and then my dream started right away. It did not take long. My first medical mission was to the Navajo Indians in Utah. I'm in an area called Monument Valley, and I did 2 weeks spending time visiting the homes of the Navajo Indians. But I didn't just stop there. I did many medical missions, especially in disaster area. Of note, during the big earthquake in Haiti, I put together a team of doctors from my community. I called a lot of my friends because my wife was looking at the devastation of the earthquake, and there was just something that was burning within me, that God has blessed me with a skill and a talent, and if I could only be there when those people are plucked out of the rubble to give them assistance. So I was able to form a team, and we were in Haiti days after the earthquake. So whenever there's a disaster, we give precedence. So we have been to Haiti twice. We went to Nepal. Whenever there's a disaster, we take smaller teams of about 15 to 20, and we usually rotate that team every 2 weeks and stay for about 3 months. When there's no disaster, that's when we go to areas across the globe. Actually, one of the surgeons that is with us, Dr. Kevin Geffey, we were in Nepal, and he was so committed because there were areas in Nepal that could not be reached, and he rented out of his own funds a helicopter to take a team of doctors into the interior. When they got there, there were lots of houses that were crumbled, and although he's a surgeon, he was not just looking for surgical work. He was pulling teeth, he was down in the grounds digging out the homes to see if there was any available potato and foods that was available. And that's the kind of commitment. They don't just think because they're surgeons we are just aloof, but they would do anything to relieve suffering. And that's the passion that my team has. We have a strong mental health team. Actually, one of our mental health leaders, he just was designated the president of the North American Psychology Association for Children. So we have really great specialists. They're all board certified. We look, and we practice evidence-based medicine. And we are just here putting a team together that really can meet the needs and the challenges of the hour. Several years ago when I trained at Penn State, we know that The risk of a heart attack goes up with inflammation. Inflammation is what starts the process. So again, if we can decrease that inflammation just by lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, and increasing our exercise activity. Recent study shows that if a male should increase his cardio workout just by 2%, he decreases risk of prostate cancer by 33%. And also there are studies that shows that if we increase our exercise activity, there were studies done on women. Just increasing your exercise to do moderate intensity exercise at least 3 times a week, you add 2.5 years to your life. If you do that 5 days a week, just a half an hour, you're gonna add 4.9 years to your life. If a British study shows if you do that moderate intensity for 1 hour, 5 days a week, you add 14 years to your life, and it starts from the very day that you start. So part of what we do is not just to do surgeries, and we have a wide range of activities that we do here, including we have not just the dentist, but we have massage, and we have lawyers that are giving free legal advice. We have financial advisors, we are doing barbers, we have a lot of giveaways. But yeah, the key is really educating folks that we don't have to die, and we don't have to be the leading countries for these diseases. We can do lifestyle change. So we want people to commit to lifestyle. And part of our team here, it's a team from University of West Indies where we have about 15 representatives, and we are going around giving individual counsel about lifestyle, how to eat, what to eat, when to eat, why to eat, so that we can really take. There's a guy that I knew from way back when I was living in Trinidad. He said we literally dig our graves with our teeth. And even when we think that we might have, just to mention genetics as it relates to lifestyle, because there's 2 things that predicts longevity. One is if you have a parent or a grandparent that lived to be in their 90s, is the strongest factor that you live to be 100. The other one is if your HDL cholesterol is above 60, population studies suggest that those people tend to be the people that live to be between 80 and 100 years old. But I normally warn my patients, genetics, it's like a loaded gun, lifestyle still pulls the trigger. Trinidad is my home, and I always say charity begins at home. So I'm just delighted to bring this team of dedicated volunteers. Part of our motto is that we just don't send relief. We hand deliver it with care and compassion. And as I would always tell my team, just like Mahatma Gandhi, which is one of the person that I admire a lot, he said the best way to find oneself is to lose oneself in the service of others. And I teach doctors from across the globe. I have doctors from India that come and train with me, and I always tell them, a patient doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Who you've met, who runs the organization locally, he put out a call, and the call came to me through a mutual friend. They need an orthopedic surgeon for the trip, and this is about 4 weeks ago. And I wasn't planning on coming here, but this is something that I've always wanted to do. It's an important part of being a physician, a part of being a human. Part of what I'm seeing is older folks. I guess I'm in that category now too. Patients over the age of 50-ish who have arthritic issues. I've seen a few patients that have had traumatic injuries that need to have some revision surgery done. But the majority of what I'm seeing is older folks with arthritis, primarily knee and hip arthritis. If you look at the older population, over the age of 65, the single biggest risk factor for hospitalization, heart disease and cancer drop-off is fracture, usually fragility fractures. Okay, so we have 2 ends of the spectrum here. So musculoskeletal health is extremely important, because lack of musculoskeletal health, particularly in the older population, leads to a degradation of one's overall health. Mental health, physical health, vascular health, cardiovascular health. Okay, so in the older population, we see more fragility type problems. In the younger population, we remember about trauma, whether it's high energy trauma or lower energy trauma, have a significant morbidity associated with that. Well, in general, as many of the viewers know, diabetes increases your complications of everything. Cardiovascular health, wounds healing, nerve issues. Most particular orthopedics, we know that patients that have elevated blood sugar and there's a lab test called a hemoglobin A1C. And the magic number is typically around 8. So we know that patients that have an A1C above 8 have higher risk of postoperative complications. Among those is infection. I saw a woman today that I was actually going to operate on this week. However, her A1C was 9, which puts her at increased risk of complication for postoperative infection. So, and she was a younger woman, but her blood sugar wasn't well controlled, and that puts her at risk of complications. Maintain good weight, good activity level. Whatever one's activity is that they enjoy is what's most important. Because when patients say, what should I do? Well, if I tell you you should go bicycle ride every day, but you hate bike ride, you're not going to do it. I say, what do you like to do? And whatever that is, do that. But whatever that activity is, you need to incorporate weight training, core strengthening, maintaining proper vision and balance. Okay, we didn't really touch on the spine at all, but that's a big factor and falls also with osteoporosis as individuals, whether men or women, they bend over a little bit. It changes the balance, it changes how they approach the world as they walk, and that can lead to fractures down the road.
Caribbean Medical TV commends all the volunteers who work tirelessly and give of their time to improve the health of so many across so many nations. Even one action can change a life. To see where Hands International goes next, be sure to follow their story at hands-international.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more.
Hello, I am Nigel Batiste, Group President and Chief Executive Officer of Republic Financial Holdings Limited. The Republic Group has always prioritized the holistic development of the communities and countries we serve. It's a mission driven by our flagship Power to Make a Difference corporate social responsibility program and the dedication of our staff, where we focus on 4 key pillars: the power to learn, the power to care, the power to help, and the power to succeed. For us, this is just the beginning of our sustainability journey, and we remain fully committed to unlocking financing to support the attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which ultimately would lead to a Caribbean region that is safe, healthy, and sustainable for many generations to come.
I'm Upton Allen. I'm a professor of pediatrics at the University of Toronto. I'm originally from Jamaica. I was trained at the University of the West Indies in Mona, and so pleased to be able to interact with you.
Our region has been fortunate to have collaborations that focus on helping our most vulnerable. Canada's most research-intensive hospital and largest center dedicated to improving children's health, the Hospital for Sick Children, has always been a pillar of hope. And with partners in the region, the Caribbean Initiative was created.
The project in question is a Sick Kids Caribbean initiative, for which I was the co-chair along with Dr. Victor Blanchette, who is a Barbadian by birth, actually, who was a professor of pediatrics at the University of Toronto and head of the Division of Hematology Oncology. And Victor's brainchild was this initiative that was aimed at improving the care of children with cancers and serious blood disorders in the Caribbean. The project aimed to transform the diagnosis, treatment, and outcomes of these children in a huge way. I became involved because of my connections with the Caribbean, and also because of the fact that children with cancers, when they do die, some of them die because of weaknesses in their immune systems brought about by treatments that they receive, resulting in serious, overwhelming infections. And by training, I'm an infectious diseases specialist. And so I became involved. I became the co-chair of that particular initiative. I asked one of my colleagues in Canada at the time, who was managing children with cancers, if a child in Canada had a cancer, a childhood cancer, what are the chances that they will survive? And the person said, you know, it's quite high. It might be in the region of 75% or higher, depending on the type of cancer. I then asked the question, what about that type of leukemia in a child in the Caribbean? And the person said, well, it depends on the island where they're from, but it's likely at the most 50% or south of 50%. So that to me represented a huge gap, and therefore a need for us to focus on improving the care of children with cancers and serious blood disorders. And that's why I became involved in that initiative. And not just that, is that to create the infrastructure and sustain the infrastructure that they can collaborate across the region. It'll be great if we can have access to those experts in Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, or what have you. And the children who are needing treatment, that they can be treated in the region. And they maybe they'll go to Barbados or Jamaica or Trinidad, wherever, to be treated. So that intra-regional collaboration is important for that effort moving forward.
Data from the region greatly aids these initiatives that foster a healthier and stronger Caribbean for all populations. It is a critical part of the equation that most never see, yet can have the most impact from the cellular level to the greater region. This is the Immune System Health Check.
Hi Caribbean, I am Valerie Wilson, coming to you from Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean Medical TV. I actually was the manager of the laboratory service at the Caribbean Epidemiology Center for a number of years. And during that time, of course, CAREC was serving 21 countries in the Caribbean region. So I am a laboratory scientist actually, and my background is in immunology. And you know, when we hear immunology, it sounds complicated, but it actually is very simple. Immunology is the way that your body deals with anything that is foreign. So even a baby in a mother's womb is actually an immune foreign body. So there is a way in which mothers are able to carry their babies to full term by the way in which their immune system actually tolerates the fetus. So it's very interesting. So immunology has evolved a lot over the last, say, 40 years, really. From the days when HIV was discovered. Interestingly enough, you know, sometimes, we saw it with COVID too, sometimes terrible things happen, but they cause the technology to advance so rapidly. So the human immunodeficiency virus, as it was called, was discovered in 1981. And following on that, a lot of technology was developed that relied on immunology, on the immune system, on antibodies, to actually identify things that were in the body of persons who were infected with HIV. And so HIV really drove a lot of the developments in immunology. And immunology now, and techniques in immunology are actually used in the laboratory very widely for much more than testing for your immune system. The immune system is all, you know, it's really in your blood. It's, you know, it's what is flowing through your veins. It's what's in your lymph nodes. It's what's in your thyroid. It's what it lines your gut, you know. It's all of these parts of your body where your immune system functions to ensure that you're not ending up with infections every single day from all kinds of things. You can check for hormones, you can check for cholesterol, etc., all using immunological techniques that are built into the platforms that we use in the laboratory today for detecting those things. What we try to do in public health is to take the information that is the sum total of all these people to try to make interventions that will benefit everyone. So in our region, we are susceptible to storms and hurricanes and earthquakes and so on. What are you going to do in case of a disaster? What things have you put in place before the disaster? So for example, things like generators. We have to turn off electricity if there's a storm or a hurricane. What about solar power, for example, which is happening now as we move ahead to using more green forms of energy. After a disaster, like flood that causes flooding, for example, we have to look at things like infectious diseases that come. So this is an important part of what we're seeing as climate becomes ever more present in terms of these kinds of natural disasters that we're seeing.
Climate change has become part of our daily dialogue, but this is not the only factor on the horizon that has a strong effect on sustainability efforts. While we work to figure out the solutions, there is a hidden element affecting the communities now and generations to come: strain, worry, and fatigue.
I think we all need to be conscious, actually, about the impacts of stress on our health, on our lives. Computers were supposed to make life easier, but then we have now, the email that was sent 10 minutes ago and somebody saying to you, I didn't hear from you, I got, I sent you an email. So there's a higher level of stress being brought into our environment as a result of the fact that, life is just moving faster. And I do believe that one of the things that does impact stress is our engagement, and particularly for our young people with smartphones. The smartphone, in a sense, almost drives how they live, what their life is guided by. And I think that in itself creates a lot of stress. The stress of, looking at other people's lives and trying to make that life, our life, look like that life. To those of us who grew up in another time, it's a very strange thing to see young people sitting next to each other in a line, and they're on their phones. And the young people here, I know, will probably think, well, what the hell does she mean by that? But yeah, it's very strange for us. We would have been talking all the time.
Only through dialogue, through collaboration, and through community can lasting change be born. Change to address the various crises in the region and globally. From an interregional to an intergenerational perspective, it is our duty and our privilege to recognize and act upon the calling, aid in these missions, and truly attain the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. And coming up on this season of Caribbean Medical TV, we'll take you through the region to hear the stories of our people, from climate to community, from health to emerging science, and most importantly, the foundation for our people in the Caribbean, the next generation, and their coming future.
My name is Carpage. I'm the head coach of St. Jago High School boys track and field team. These youngsters on the track, they leave it all out there when they're training because they believe in Jamaica. It's always been #1 from in the 1930s, and the legacy must continue. So these youth put their heart, their mind, and their soul in everything they do for the sports, for St. Jago and for Jamaica.
For the youth, there's a lot of talent in the Caribbean region. Right, and first and foremost, once you spot them, the motivational level sometimes can be a little bit low. They might not know, look at the outside world and see what they can do with their talent. So once they have the right guidance, the parents, they are very important. So once the parent can support them, I would just ask them to give it their best shot, try to see how best they can at least even collaborate also with other Caribbean countries because we are here. So the collaboration with other Caribbean countries, I like to see us, we get back together.
Stay safe, stay well, and stay inspired. See you on the next episode of Caribbean Medical TV.
The climate is changing, and you?
Every year during our rainy season, the increase in heavy rainfalls destabilize the slope of the riverbank, causing flooding and overflowing of the riverbed in our area.
With the Migrated Community Project, we have been adapting to the effects of climate change by planting fruit trees along the Migrated watershed.
We encourage the participation of students and community members as it provides an opportunity to learn and to create a positive impact on the livelihoods of the affected people. The trees that were planted at the beginning of the project are growing well. They will help prevent erosion, mud flows, and landslides. Planting the right trees along the riverbank has many benefits.
You too, take action.
SVG-TV Obituaries acknowledges the passing of our beloved ones and sympathizes with family and friends of the deceased.
Celebrating the life of the late Christine Hunter Baptiste of Glenside, Mesopotamia, who passed his life on Monday 23rd March at 70 years of age. Christine Hunter Baptiste of Glenside, Mesopotamia, is survived by spouse Elmo Baptiste, children Bethel Scott Doyle, Bethany Scott Bennett, Shoma Scott Roban, Cleophas, Adrian, and Lafleur Scott, 17 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren, 3 brothers, 4 sisters, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Christine Hunter Baptiste of Glenside, Mesopotamia, takes place on Saturday, 30th May, at the Hebron Gospel Chapel, Mesopotamia. Time of viewing, 12 p.m. Time of service, 1 p.m. Place of interment, Dumbarton Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Elizabeth Rose Ford of Redemption Sharps, who passed his life on Friday, 22nd May at 54 years of age. Elizabeth Rose Ford of Redemption Sharps is survived by children Keyshawn Ford and Desiree Mills, 1 grandchild, 1 brother, 1 sister, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Elizabeth Rose Ford of Redemption Sharps takes place on Friday 29th May at the Apostolic Faith Mission, Paul Over. Time of viewing, 10 a.m. Time of service, 11 a.m. Place of interment, Kingston Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Anita Sharp Daniel Nee Trimmingham of Green Hill, who passed this life on Tuesday, 12th May 2026. Anita Sharp Daniel Nee Trimmingham of Green Hill is survived by adopted daughter, Suan Archibald, 3 brothers, 5 sisters, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Anita Sharp Daniel Nee Trimmingham of Green Hill takes place on Saturday, 30th May at the New Testament Church of God, Wilson Hill. Time of viewing, 12 p.m. Time of service, 1 p.m. Place of interment, Kingston Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Musica Kevin Shemron Bentic, also known as MZ of Fountain, who passed this life on Wednesday, 29th April at 34 years of age. Musica Kevin Shemron Bentic, also known as MZ of Fountain, is survived by mother Cynthia Bentick, son Malachi Davis, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Musica Kevin Shemron Bentick, also known as MZ of Fountain, takes place on Sunday 31st May at the Seventh-day Adventist Church Fountain. Time of viewing 12 p.m. Time of service 1 p.m. Place of interment Fountain Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Trishelle McDowell of Layu, who passed this life on Friday 15th May at 28 years of age. Trishelle McDowell of Layu is survived by parents Michelle and Parnell McDowell, 1 grandchild, 1 brother, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Trishelle McDowell of Layu takes place on Sunday 31st May at the Layu Seventh-day Adventist Church. Time of viewing 1 p.m. Time of service 2 p.m. Place of interment Layu Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Erica Cook Tannis of Annisvale, who passed this life on Saturday 16th May at 82 years of age. Erica Cook Tannis of Annisvale is survived by children Jack Tannis Riley and Marcus Tannis Jr., 2 grandchildren, 1 brother, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Erica Cook Tannis of Annisvale takes place on Monday 1st June at the Chauncey Methodist Church. Time of viewing 10 a.m. Time of service 11 a.m. Place of interment Churchyard Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Yvette Clotilda Charles Haynes of Lacroix, who passed this life on Wednesday 6th May at 64 years of age. Yvette Clotilda Charles Haynes of Lacroix is survived by children Janique, Jensen, and Justin Charles, 1 grandchild, 5 brothers, 12 sisters, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Yvette Clotilda Charles Haynes of Lacroix takes place on Sunday 31st May at the Evesham Seventh-day Adventist Church. Time of viewing 12 p.m. Time of service 1 p.m. Place of interment Windsor Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Rosamella Menelva Bailey of Sign Hill, Sandy Bay, passed this life on Wednesday 22nd April at 66 years of age. Rosamella Menelva Bailey of Sign Hill, Sandy Bay, is survived by spouse Kenneth Melville, children Christopher and Curleen Bailey, Joel, Courtney, and Kenrick Melville, 14 grandchildren, 2 brothers, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Rosamella Menelva Bailey of Sign Hill, Sandy Bay, takes place on Saturday 30th May at the Holy Name Anglican Church. Time of viewing 12 p.m. Time of service 1 p.m. Place of interment London Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Cordis Quao Nichols of Kingston Park, who passed his life on Tuesday 19th May at 84 years of age. Cordis Quao Nichols of Kingston Park is survived by children Cheryl and Frankie Millington, 5 grandchildren, 11 great-grandchildren, 1 sister, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Cordis Quao Nichols of Kingston Park takes place on Monday 1st June at the Monk Spiritual Baptist Church, Lago Heights. Time of viewing 11 a.m. Time of service 12 p.m. Place of interment Kingston Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever-Ready Funeral Home. Celebrating the life of the late Lloyd Alexander Toby, also known as Glenson and Waverly of Diamond Village, who passed this life on Monday 27th April at 87 years of age. Lloyd Alexander Toby, also known as Glenson and Waverly of Diamond Village, is survived by spouse Valsina Toby, children Wayne King, Brian Alexander, Janetta Jack, Glenora Derrick, Ethel Washington, Daphne Gaines, Magavin Sagasan, and Betty Jean Toby. 23 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren, 1 brother, 1 sister, many other relatives and friends. The funeral service for the late Lloyd Alexander Toby, also known as Glenson and Waverly of Diamond Village, takes place on Saturday 30th May at the Streams of Power Church, Sanssouci. Time of viewing 12 noon. Time of service 1 p.m. Place of interment Sanssouci Cemetery. This funeral service is entrusted to the Ever Ready Funeral Home. The death is announced of Monica Whiskey of Caliacua and Antigua. She was 72 years old. She left to mourn her mother, Velma Charles of Caliacua, her children Delise Whiskey, Gavin Whiskey, Yuri Whiskey, and Carla Phillips, sisters Kathleen Joseph, Cynthia Lucas, and adopted sister Patricia King, brothers Patrick Whiskey, Michael Paris, and Alan John. The funeral service for the late Monica Whiskey will take place on Thursday, May 28th at Barnes Funeral Chapel in Antigua. Interment at Tranquility Park. May her soul rest in peace. The funeral service for the late Ras David Ferguson of Rockies will be held on Friday 29th May at the Kingston Cemetery. The viewing begins at 10:30 a.m. Service begins at 11 a.m.
SVG-TV Obituaries acknowledges the passing of our beloved ones and sympathizes with family and friends of the deceased. May they rest in peace.
We promised quality and affordability, and we've delivered that and much more. Memorial Funeral Home continues to improve and modernize its services. We have added the option of cremation. Our new crematorium provides a safe way to memorialize your loved ones. So whether you choose to bury or cremate, our friendly and courteous staff will take care of all your funeral needs. We know and understand the stress that comes from bringing your loved ones home. And that's why we assist in the transportation of bodies to and from St. Vincent to any part of the world. Visit our spacious showroom at the Russell's Building in Kingstown or call the office at 453-2697 or the Mesopotamia office at 458-8888. The Memorial Funeral Home, leading the way in modern and affordable services.
Our crematorium services are open to all funeral homes in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
SVG's Heart and Soul. Magic 103.7, 91.5. Today's music.